Let's talk about building a community. It's something we all want, but it's not always that easy, especially for those of us who are slightly awkward introverts. I'm not naming names. But in this episode, I'm chatting with tribe building expert Julie Creffield about how to create a lovely aligned community of humans around you. So let's get straight into it. Do you ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of marketing musts and shitty business shoulds? Yeah? Well, you're in the right place. Your Biz, Your Rules is here to help you kick that crap out of the road so you can build your biz your way. So I am here with the fabulous Julie Creffield to talk about all things community. So if you've been following Your Biz, Your Rules for a while, you will remember that Julie has already been a guest here back in episode 8, way back when, where we talked about how to grow a quite massive following, starting from zero and with none of the mad tech skills that we all have today. So, community, it's what we all want. Julie is an expert, so say hello to Julie and she will give you the gold.
Oh, it's so good to be back. I've missed you, Dara. I've missed you.
Okay, so let's dive straight in. What are your top tips for building an epic tribe online?
Okay, so I think firstly, we need to remember that people are people, whether they're online or offline. And I've been building communities for as long as I can remember. The first community I ever built was in my brother's bedroom when I decided to turn his bedroom into a library because the local library kept telling us to be quiet. So I was like, fine, I'll create my own one. And I got all the kids down the street to donate their books and to give me 50 pence. And with all of those 50 pence pieces, I bought a rubber stamp. And that was my first taste of power. So I think, we need to understand that the online idea of tribe isn't that dissimilar to what we've always done as human beings in terms of wanting to be part of things, having people lead us, being led, taking on roles within a community. And it's all about having some kind of shared vision. So it's all about kind of feeling like you are going somewhere with this community, and there being a sense of give and take. It's not a matter of just sitting somewhere and waiting to be given everything you need. I think there's, the trick for these kind of online communities is to give people kind of roles and responsibilities and a shared sense of ownership. And I don't think that's anything different to what we expect in other kinds of communities.
I think when it's an online group, sometimes it can be really difficult to inspire that kind of engagement, though, because I think loads of people have this intention of wanting to build, say, a Facebook group or a big following or some kind of network, but then actually getting people involved and getting them to buy into it can be really tricky. So do you have any tips?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think you're right. And I think what people often do is they go about it the wrong way. They think by creating a space for people, that community will happen organically and that everybody knows how to expect, how to behave and what to expect. And I think what our role is as a kind of business leader is to lead people into behaving appropriately. And the Facebook group or, wherever your tribe is congregating, that space is not the community. That's just the platform that is hosting the community. So I think we need to kind of inbuild these kind of community aspects into our business right from the off. And I really think we've got it wrong where we really think the tribe is the Facebook group. And I just don't think that is it. And I think where I've had real success with the two-factor run movement is looking at ways, ultimately it's an online program. I do very little in person, but where I've managed to get this sense of community is taking people away from their screens to take action. So that is when people feel like they're part of something shared, where they find that whatever it is that's been discussed in the group is now seeping out into other areas of their lives. So it becomes part of a movement rather than just, oh, I'm part of this little Facebook group.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And I just think it's so important not to give any actual platform all of the power, because Facebook could just decide that it's going to stop having groups tomorrow if it wanted to. And then what happens? What do you do then?
Absolutely. And Facebook has changed. So I've been writing the Two Factor Run blog for almost 10 years now. And actually, for the first few years, I wasn't on Facebook at all. You know, I took some real convincing to set up a Facebook page because I just didn't really want to be on Facebook all the time. And my tribe initially was on, not even Instagram, Twitter. I was a Twitter tribe long before I got my Facebook tribe. And the technology and the algorithms and all of that rubbish, which I still don't understand fully, don't make it a very easy place to play. So it's very difficult to build organic, powerful, engaging groups if you are solely relying on the technology that is Facebook to do that.
So what I love about the way that you build communities is that they're always filled with like Julie's people. They are like through and through Julie's gang. And I think it's really hard to actually go out there onto the internet where just idiots are everywhere and find people that actually match with you, your vibe, your values, all of that good stuff. Because it scares me. I spend a lot of time online and it still scares me. Like sometimes I just don't want to post things because I know I'm going to have to deal with fools who have to comment on everything.
Yeah. Well, I have had my fair share of that, as you could probably imagine. You know, when I came onto the scene, there was no such thing as a plus size movement, you know, and I used to get all kinds of backlash. I'd go on morning TV to do a thing about kind of the sugar tax or, you know, some kind of thing that had been in the headlines. And then Twitter would go mad with, you know, comments like, oh, here we go again, a fat person telling us how to behave, you know, and I would get this backlash. But actually that backlash is what drew people to me, because people would see that online and think, what an idiot. And then they'd go, what's this woman all about? So actually there's nothing wrong with a little bit of provocation, because I think we focus so much on attracting our tribe and not repelling people away. Because actually, if you build a tribe where you let everybody in, then you let the idiots in. And I think being really clear on who you don't want in your tribe is equally as important. You know, and some of my tribes are not that big in numbers, but they're safe. You know, so we have the Clubhouse, which is my online running club. It's an incredibly safe space for women. You know, and when I say women, I mean all types of women that are not catered for in any other running space. And that makes it something really special that people want to be part of.
Do you have like some kind of magical manifesto of who is and isn't allowed in one of your tribes, just out of interest?
Do you know what? I don't really, but I always get a sense if someone's not going to be right, you know, and I think sometimes I've had to stick my neck out on certain things, and sometimes my tribe has told me that I've done something wrong. I can remember there was this big thing with Rosemary Connolly on Twitter retweeted something that I wrote and said something like, I love what you do, but you fat people should be careful about your knees. And it was so patronizing that all of my women jumped onto Twitter and said, you know, go back to the 1980s or whatever. And they were being quite rude. And I was laughing about it in my tribe. And one of my tribe members went, we don't do that in here, Julie. Like, you know, we're shaming her and we're not against, you know, we're against that. And I was like, actually, you're right. You know, so sometimes the people in my tribe remind me of what the values are. And, you know, I'm not too proud to say, yep, I made a mistake, you know, and yeah, it's not a cool thing to shame people.
I suppose that's the power of having the right kind of community around you, in that you've created the space where people feel comfortable actually saying to you, no, Julie, I don't agree with this. Because I think there are so many, particularly with big Facebook groups that are run by very like big names in the business owning world, the thought of actually going to them and disagreeing with something, I just think you'd get kicked out. They wouldn't be open to hearing that. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think there's this thing of, as a leader, are you just creating a group so you can sell to them? Is that what it's about? You know, I don't look at the women in my community as cash cows. I don't think, oh, let me get as many women into my groups as possible so I can sell to them. I think they have far more, that they have more value as a human being, as somebody who is my fan, than they ever do as a customer. And I think that's where it's about understanding that your tribe is not just your customers. Your tribe, you know, are people that don't always fit into your, you know, your perfect customer avatar. Some of my best tribe members are people that are not overweight. They, you know, I've got not necessarily in my online groups, but definitely in my wider tribe. I have men, you know, very influential men in the sports world that just love what I do, and they become a great advocate for me. So we need to get out of the idea that our tribe is just the people that buy from us, because, you know, I've had people that have passed me on work and passed me on clients that have been very, very lucrative, and they've only done that because I've built a great relationship with them, and they believe in my tribe. They believe in the movement that I'm leading. So I think we're trapped in this idea of let's attract people into our community so we can sell to them. And that's not what running a tribe is about.
So I briefly mentioned before that my big fear is the humans and juggling all of the personalities. So how do you manage to keep everyone pretty happy most of the time?
I think it's being really... Yeah, I mean, I think it's about being really honest and open in your kind of about section. If we're talking Facebook groups, you know, just having some real guidelines around how we behave, you know, making it really aware that not everyone's going to agree, and that's fine. And that, you know, debate is, you know, healthy debate is good. And, you know, just sometimes I'll have just a little quiet word with somebody and just say, you know, you're being really negative in the group at the moment. Is everything okay? And then they realize that the impact of their negative comments is kind of having an effect on the group. Or, you know, some people will jump in and just give loads of advice all the time. And I think, you know, what is that your job to be doing that? You know, so it's just being aware and just being visible and present in your group, rather than just only ever coming in when you've got something to say and something to sell, and, you know, you want the people within your tribe to do something for you.
Do you think there gets a point where your group is too big that for you to actually be there and be present and take care of it as well as you did when it was a little bit smaller?
I definitely have seen that with other people. I mean, none of my groups are huge. So I have a huge tribe of followers and fans and partners and stuff like that. But actually, in terms of Facebook, my largest community is probably 300 to 400. So I don't tend to have a mega massive group. I mean, I have a Facebook business page, and, you know, I'd say the lion's share of people on there don't even buy my online products. They might buy my books and whatever, but they don't get an enormous amount of value from being on that page, because I tend to spend a lot of my effort and energy, you know, showing up with people that have paid to kind of be in my groups. But I've definitely seen it for communities that I've been a part of. But I think you understand that, you know, when you get to a certain level, you're not going to be able to kind of just, you know, jump into the group and ask them a question, because they're off doing bigger things. And I think when you believe in what the bigger thing is, then you don't selfishly go, you know, I need your help, it needs to be me, because you know that person is off kind of saving the world or doing whatever the thing is that is their mission.
So let's go back to what I was saying before. Do you have any tips for actually finding those people and bringing them to you?
Yeah, I think you need to show up in the real world. I think you need to do as much as you can in kind of places that people still trust. So, you know, getting into mainstream media, getting on, and it doesn't need to necessarily be national media. It can be local media. You know, I do so much on local radio, and, you know, I do small events, and I think wherever there is crossover into the real world, onto the online world, people see that you're a real person. So, you know, people have read my blogs and then they've met me at a race and they've said, God, you're just the same. You're just the same in person as to what you are online. And that's when people start to believe and trust in you. Because particularly for my market, so my market are middle-aged women, many of them, they are online in terms of being on Facebook, but they're not in the online world. They're not building online businesses, you know, in terms of the running people. So they are a little bit skeptical around buying programs because they've never bought a program before. So if I say, you know, I'm running this, you know, 6-month program and it's £700, they're like, what? £700? Like, they just can't fathom what that would do for them. So they have real kind of nervousness around, you know, paying that kind of money for a program, whereas somebody that's been in the online world for a while knows that that's how much you might pay for an online program. So I think what I tend to do is build up very, very slowly with, I've just launched a program in January which is all about learning to run, and it was a $5, but I had 200 women sign up. So 200 women are now part of this mini tribe learning to run. They're all starting at the same step. They're all dealing with the weather together. They're all dealing with injuries and being sore and, kind of feelings of doubt. And I know that from those 200 women, probably around 100 of them will go on to be part of my online running club, or they'll go on to do something else with me. So, it's about getting a business model that works, which isn't just reliant on one Facebook group, because people need different things.
And I think what you were saying before about, there's my phone ringing, perfect. I think what you were saying before about a community needing some sort of shared vision or shared something to keep the engagement up is so right, because like you said, with your runners, they're all sharing that experience together. And I know with groups I've been in, when we're all working towards some sort of common goal, it's so much easier to get in there and get to know people properly and connect, and not just dip in and out and chat superficially.
Well, it's a bit like female entrepreneurs. There are so many different business groups and business masterminds available for us. And there's nothing worse than being in a group where you think, oh my God, everyone's better than me, or everyone's worse than me. Like, you want to be in a group with people that have similar aspirations, similar challenges, but enough diversity and difference where you can still learn from each other. And I think that's where really understanding kind of the power of the tribe and how you can use your network. I'm all about how do you leverage, it's not just about building your tribe, but it's how do you leverage, how do you make the most of the people that are in your tribe? Because I used to make lots of assumptions about the people that were in my groups. I used to make assumptions that they were, mums, that they were on low incomes, that they had low confidence. And when I first started meeting these women, I was like, that's just rubbish, Julie. You've just made all these assumptions about them. Some of these women are very affluent, very confident, have great jobs, leadership jobs. And I can remember there was this lady that came on one of my in-person workshops, and she was quite quiet. And then she came back on a second one. I was like, why has she come back on a second one? I just don't get it. And then I got my gig on ITV's This Morning, and it turned out she was head of drama for ITV. She was head of drama in a really powerful kind of position. And it taught me a very valuable lesson, was never to underestimate who you have in the group and what networks they're part of and how they can give you a step up. Now, she didn't tell me that that was her role, but I absolutely, if I hadn't have given her a good experience, then that job that I got, that 6 weeks on national TV, would never have come about. So I think we need to really value every single member of our community and not just think that they're there to get help from you. There's plenty of things that my tribe have done for me in terms of getting in newspapers and, having meetings with people. They've just hooked me up because they believe in what I'm doing.
It's absolutely a two-way thing. You're not just some leader that the mice are following around. It's like a genuine community that works both ways.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just because I'm nosy and I kind of want to know, what communities are your favourites, like as a member?
Yeah, I love the Lucky Bee community, Denise Duffield Thomas's community. I think because I joined it when I was just kind of dipping my toes into online business, the people in that community have really seen me grow, so they really support what I do. And I have bought products from people, and people have bought products from me. Whenever I travel, I always check if anyone's nearby. I've gone for lunch with people in South Africa and in the States, and I just love the fact that it's really up-leveled my understanding of what it is to be a female entrepreneur in the world. So I think that's one of my favorite communities. I also quite like kind of my traditional running club, so a running club that I'm just part of. They have a little Facebook group, and I love how people ask for help and they ask for advice, and it's just very kind of local, and I quite like the engagement in that group as well. But yeah, I'm part of lots of different online communities, but I also think we miss out on people that are running tribes that have no online community, like they don't have a Facebook group. So more like campaigns, things that we just believe in, people that we believe in, people that we might follow on Instagram or Twitter, and we just believe in the stuff they do. Like I can never remember her name, but the lady that takes the mickey out of all of the celebrities and just recreates their photos, I love her. I just think she's awesome. So I think there are some people that do great work online that you might never buy from them, but they make the world a better place. So if ever you were given the opportunity to help them in some way, you probably would.
It's funny you should say that, because while you were talking, I was just thinking about my favorite online communities, and actually my two are people who don't actually have like a group space, like they don't have Facebook groups. They're both people that I follow on Instagram, who just have made, I don't even know how to describe it, but they've created this nice little space of really lovely followers who are lovely to each other. And so one of them is, I love Jamila Jamil.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything she does. I love her. Love her, love her, love her. She's so funny. I love everybody who follows her because they're so funny. And you know how sometimes when it's anything to do with weight and diet and body image, people can get really vicious in the comments. And I just love how she smacks them down and polices it. And that's great. And then the second one is Alex Beeden, who's an online business coach, and she does a lot of Instagram story stuff. So her platform of choice is Instagram. And I get people messaging me all the time because I've commented on her posts in the past or tagged her in something. And they'll just like come and make friends with me because they've seen that I've commented on something of hers. So they're like, oh, well, if you've commented on Alex stuff, then we're clearly going to be friends. So hello.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's that way.
And we do, it's an overused kind of thing, but, your vibe does attract your tribe. So I think as humans, even though we're more connected than we've ever been, I still think there's huge disconnect, and we are desperate to find people that we like and that we feel safe around. I think that is what is behind this kind of drive to be part of communities, whether they're online or off.
Yeah, and I really love, I kind of love what you said about doing offline stuff, but then I also kind of hate it because I'm not a big fan of leaving my house if I can help it. So I might do some looking into that. I have committed to going to a few more in-person events this year, so I'll do it a little bit.
And I think even as an introvert, there's ways of doing it. I've got speaker friends that are an absolute introverts, and they do stuff from the stage, and they don't like doing the Q&As afterwards. Like, I love doing Q&As. I'll go and speak to like 200 entrepreneurs at a university, and then afterwards I'll stay for an hour answering questions, as people queue and miss their lunch just so they can chat to me. I love that. I get my energy from that, but I know it's not for everybody. But I think you don't necessarily have to be meeting and greeting and seeing everybody in person to have an impact offline. I just think sometimes we need something tangible. We need to know that you're more than just a face behind a screen.
I suppose it comes back to being a real person, because you can portray anything on the internet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're still skeptical. We are still, I think, as human beings, remember, the internet is still relatively new in the kind of, the history of human beings. So we are still quite skeptical of it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I know, sometimes I'll be scrolling through Instagram and I'll just look and be like,
yeah,
I know what that is. That's not real.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's because I work in the online marketing space, and so I'm very aware of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having incredible fun on LinkedIn at the moment with all of these automated messages, which on the whole come from men. And because I'm doing this tribe builder stuff now, before I used to just ignore it. And now I have so much fun just going. So, today I got a message from this guy that said, oh, I love what you're doing. Can we connect? No, he said, what's your big game or something? And I said, oh, big game. That's not an expression that I use. I said, what's your big game? And he said something back. And then it was clear he had no idea what I did. And I said, have you looked at my profile? And he said, no, I prefer to do that. And I was like, but you started the conversation with, you love what I do. Like, don't come with this crap, you know? And I just, I'm having so much fun calling people out on their marketing, you know, crap. Because I don't think we need to do it. You know, we're humans, even though we are running these online businesses, behind every business is a bunch of humans. Why can't we just chat to each other as humans? You know, why do we have to do all this automation that just winds us all up and just adds to our overwhelm?
I actually really like doing that on Instagram too, because you know how you always get those like copy paste bot comments that say things like, oh, hey, great post, or I think we're such a great fit, or like, have you checked out my profile, or oh, have you ever considered starting an online business, that sort of thing. And like, I make it a point now of going back and responding to them. It's fun. It's so much fun. So like, if someone's like, hey, great post, and I'll be, thank you so much, that means so much to me, please be specific, which part did you like the most? Like that, just for the lols.
Yeah. And actually, it's been really fascinating for me, because as somebody in the fitness space, I don't have the following that some of the big fitness influencers have, yet I still get offered the opportunities from the brands that work with influencers. So in the summer, I did a collaboration with Garmin, and they paid for us all to go out to Paris for this trip to do the Paris Triathlon. And I was amongst influencers who had followings in the hundreds of thousands. Like, you know, there was this German guy who's like a pin-up, you know, cyclist, and there were all these people with these massive followings. And I said to the brand, I said, why am I here? And she said, well, for a start, you don't buy followers. And I was like, okay, yep, that's true. And she said, secondly, we know that your tribe is authentic, and these are people that actually listen to what you talk about. You know, so I was like the small player in that group of influencers. But the brand could still see the value. So I don't think it's a numbers game. You know, a lot of people think it is, particularly on Instagram. They're like, you know, let me just buy 10,000 followers to get me started. It's just rubbish. You're never going to build a business in that way, because people just won't buy from you.
Oh, absolutely. I have so many conversations with people about numbers and the vanity metrics, because it is all a load of bollocks. It really is.
Yeah.
I would so much rather have 4 people who are engaged and talk to me than 4,000 who are just there silent, not even paying attention to what I'm doing.
And I think it holds a lot of business owners back, particularly female business owners, because what they do is they procrastinate and they say, oh, I can't launch this new product until I've got this great website, and until I can prove I'm popular on Instagram, and until, and they spend so much time generating great content that they could be selling, and they could be, you know, building their tribe of paying customers. And it just really winds me up, because as women, we compare ourselves in a way that I think men probably don't.
I remember a while back I interviewed, I think it was Jo Casey, and she came up with a quote that really made me laugh, but is so true. So she said something along the lines of, we should just walk into a room with the confidence of Boris Johnson.
Well, the thing is, this gender split really kind of makes me laugh. So this guy that was pitching to me this morning was pitching to me to help me be a writer and to sell online courses. And he said he was a best-selling author. So I went on to check where this book was. And it was one of those books that was 1 million in a series for 99p. And he was a contributor to the book. And he had very low numbers on Instagram and on Twitter, like less than 1,000 across all of these things. And I was like, here you are pitching to me, who is an expert in this field and has written 9 books and has monetized my tribes in a way that you could probably dream of, but you still have the audacity to pitch to me.
I mean, at least read my profile.
Yeah. Whereas I think if women were pitching, they'd go, oh, I'd better check him out to make sure he's not better than me. You know, like that is the psychology of it.
Well, do you know what? It's so true, because I receive podcast pitches a lot from people who have maybe just come across it and seen that I do interviews. And that, I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of the men who pitch themselves are just like very generic with what they do. They'll include the name of my podcast, but you can tell they haven't even read the about section, let alone listen to an episode. Whereas yesterday I received a pitch from a lady who is like, I've listened to these episodes, I particularly like what you said in this, and then like told me what I said in this episode and gave me a handful of topic ideas that she thought my audience would really love. And the willingness that I have to interview these different people are at the extremes, because I would love to talk to her. I'm going to try and see if she'll just come on and talk to me about all of the things she was that charming, and the other guys just get spammed.
Yeah, and it's just about, we don't need to do all this sleazy marketing stuff. There are better ways of attracting people to your business.
100%. Which brings me on to, so for those who are listening, who are ready to take this tribe building stuff to the next step, what do you suggest? Take it away.
So obviously I do help female entrepreneurs with this, and I've got a program coming up called Tribe Builder, which is, it's an online program that kind of teaches the principles of tribe building, but also gets you to take action, because I'm a big believer in taking action before you're ready. So literally every week in the 8-week program, I get you to do stuff. I get you to put things out there, to pilot programs, to put out offers, and to make money pretty much from week one, to prove that you can. I mean, the first online program that I made money from was the crappiest program you've ever heard of. It was called Bish Bash Bosh. And literally, I got 30 women to pay me £10 each. And for 30 days, I told them something to do that was health and fitness related. And if they did it, they came back onto Facebook and said, Bish Bash Bosh. And if they didn't, they posted a sad face. That was my first online program. And it ran for 3 months solidly. I made over £1,000 for that. And I didn't have a massive tribe. So I want to prove to women that they can launch things, even if they've got a small social media following, even if they've had no luck previously trying to monetize. I want to show them the principles, kind of lift the lid on my business strategy, and then kind of support them to kind of get their tribes up and running, and kind of creating not only more money, but more value, more kind of people doing good stuff in the world. So that starts on the 4th of March. And I've got some awesome women taking part. Like, I don't know, I didn't really have a clear idea of what types of speakers and bloggers and coaches would be in there, but I've got just some incredible people. I've got a baker and a artist and a happiness personal trainer, and it's just going to be filled with really diverse women doing brilliant things. So that's what I'm focusing on at the moment.
It does sound amazing. I've checked out all of the stuff that you sent over to me, and it does look like it's going to be an amazing program. So I'll definitely pop the link to that in the show notes so people can come check it out if they feel like they too might want a community that isn't a load of rubbish.
Perfect.
Such a poet. To finish up, just let us know where we can find you online, so that people can get more of the Julie goodness if they should.
Sure. So I guess what I'm doing at the moment fits into 3 categories. So all of the running stuff, you can find me on with Too Fat to Run. My SEO is incredible, considering I don't know much about SEO. You can pretty much type anything about being a fat runner and you'll find me. For all of my life coaching and speaking stuff, it's juliecreffield.com. And for the new Tribe Builder work, it's tribebuildernetwork.com. Excellent.
Thank you so much. It's been a great chat. It's made me think definitely about maybe getting out of my box. Maybe. It's a maybe. Don't hold me to that.
Brilliant. It's always a joy. I love doing these.
All right. Talk soon.
Bye.
So before you go anywhere, I've got something to share. So I've decided to add a little bit of something extra to each of my episodes of Your Biz, Your Rules. So what we're going to do from now on is I'm going to give you all a little challenge to take away with you and implement. Because if you've been around me at all, if you've listened to a few episodes, you'll know that I'm all about taking action. So I'm going to give you some really simple, easy to do prompts that will help you get a bit more confidence online, grow your network, grow your profile, and really bring personality into the mix. So let's get started with your challenge for this episode. So what I want you to do is head over to Instagram and share a story or a post celebrating your favourite tribe. And don't forget to use the Your Biz Your Rules hashtag and tag me too if you do it in a story, so that I can get the little notification and come and join in the fun. So that's it for today. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll be with you next week. Oh, I almost forgot. There is actually an incentive for playing along with each of my weekly challenges. You see, if you share your homework and use the tag, then I will be giving one lucky listener a completely free, no strings attached, one-on-one visibility coaching session every single month. So if you have a particular issue you're trying to overcome, if you just want to have a good old creative brainstorm, you could use a totally free session with me to help sort all of that out for you. And all you've got to do is do as you're told, do your homework, and you may just be in with a chance. Thank you so much for listening. I genuinely hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed creating it, because seriously, I love this stuff. Now, if you'd like to take it a little bit further, if you'd like to learn more from me, just have a bit of a chat, or share your thoughts on this show, then please do come find me on Instagram. My handle is @DaraCharlotte. I'll see you there.